Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a great video for you today. A real update on a case I've been following. The Todd and Jewel Chrisley case. They're a family on TV and they're going to prison for a long time. But we're going to talk about that in a minute. Before I get started, please check us out on YouTube, Patreon, Discord. Check us out all over the place, please. Also check out our merch. Check out the book, Gangster Redemption's doing great, obviously. Also a little quick update. We just had the company cruise and some bunch of good fans were there. We had a great time. We went on a 3-day cruise to Nassau. Really good meeting people. I met the guy who won the cigar, who won the trip from the cigar thing, which was Paul Latta and his girlfriend Amanda. Everybody had a great time. Stay tuned for the next one we do like that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Okay, let me update you on what is going on. I've been following this case from the beginning. Todd and Jewel Chrisley, before they got their show, they were, I guess, schemers or scammers, and they must have put on some case, the government. Now, this case was out of Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a fraud case. It's reality star Todd and Jewel Chrisley were sentenced. They actually were sentenced just yesterday to a lengthy prison term after being convicted earlier this year of charges including bank fraud and tax evasion. Let me tell you something, when the government wants you, pretty tough not to get around that. Here's another thing I want to talk about with that. You know, this U.S. District Judge Eleanor Ross in Atlanta gave Chrisley 12 years, the same time I had, but they had a fraud. They're estimating at $30 million, even more than my crime, obviously. While Jewel Chrisley got 7 years behind bars, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Atlanta. Each is to serve 3 years paper, we call it. That's pretty normal, and they're gonna have restitution, which is another normal thing. They don't even know the amount of the restitution. They're gonna do that later. Usually they do that with the pre-sentencing report, so that was a little confusing to me. But when a federal judge says something, it's it. You know, you can't go back. Now, they were asking, the defense attorney was asking for probation for Jewel Chrisley because she had family and kids and even an elderly mother-in-law, and less time, 9 years for Todd. Todd must have been the brains of the operation, or at least the one who's the instigator of the operation. Now, they're a very boisterous family. I did watch 1 or 2 episodes. Personally, I didn't like it. The show, it was on you know, like cable TV, and it's just Chrisley's know best. Obviously, they don't. But they got the show after they did a lot of this. Now, they lived a pretty wild lifestyle, very high-end, you know, money and stuff, and they were doing bank frauds, and I mean, it got really intense. They built an empire based on their wealth, came from dedication to hard work, is what they said. Prosecutors wrote in a pre-sentencing court filing, the jury's unanimous verdict set the record straight. Todd and Jewel are career swindlers, who have made a living by jumping from one fraud scheme to another, lying to banks, stiffing vendors, and even taxes at every corner. Obviously, there's a lot of people who do stuff like that. How much is it meant? And obviously, if you have to live that crazy a lifestyle, listen, I don't live a crazy lifestyle. I live in a small house, take care of my mom. That's how I look at things. But again, I lived in prison already, so I don't need the big lifestyle. I don't anyway. But attorneys for Todd Chrisley argued in court filing that he should not face more than 9 years in prison. Now, how that works, to let everybody know, when you start doing the pre-sentencing report and everything that goes along with that, here's how that works. That works by a sentencing guidelines. Now, the judge gets the sentencing guidelines and can do anything she wants. She can go above the sentencing guidelines, below the sentencing guidelines. They call that upward or downward departures. Now, usually you have to have a reason for that. What's the reason? An elderly mother is not the reason, or even maybe if you have some health risk, it could be, but it has to be really serious. A lot of people try that one. Usually it's for cooperating with the government in one way or the other, solving a crime or helping out, or the judge really believes that you are contrite and you feel bad for what you did, and you take responsibility for what you did. The judge here is saying they never even took responsibility for what they did after being convicted by a jury. So that's usually what happens. And once a jury verdict comes in, everybody, it's as pretty locked as you can get. Appeals are very hard unless there's ineffective assistance in counsel, and that doesn't sound like it. Or they made a bad mistake, and it doesn't seem like they did in this case after looking through all the paperwork myself. Chrisleys were convicted in June of charges of bank fraud, tax evasion, and conspiring to defraud the IRS. Chrisley was also convicted of wire fraud and obstruction of justice. Those are the cases where they literally have paperwork, and it's a paper trail of you trying to swindle the government. Obviously, it happens all the time with a lot of different people, but in this case, the government had enough, and I don't know what was the trigger of this case. It's usually after so long, and they just get caught. It eventually catches up to you. Peter Tarantino, 6, an accountant, this is the big one that really shocked me, hired by the couple, was found guilty of conspiracy to defraud the IRS and willfully filing false tax returns. He was sentenced Monday to 3 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. To me, I think he should have got more. Being a part of this is to me is pretty bad, because usually you go off an accountant, what he's going to say or do, and I don't like the fact that he only got 3 years. Obviously, it took more than the Chrisleys to do this, to file these paperwork and stuff, and I'm surprised any accountant would lose their license over filing this. I don't care how much money he made, because he should know he's going to prison. Obviously, there's paper trails. Whatever you do, there's paper trails. Obviously, filing it to the government, they're going to find the paper trail. And this guy, you know, willfully found, and conspiracy is, he knew about it, he didn't say anything about it now, and he filed the paperwork. So that's even more to me than conspiracy. Conspiracy is just knowing about it, not doing anything about it. But filing the paperwork, to me, that's an accountant's main job. You know, we trust accountants, everybody does, because you don't know the law in the IRS laws, obviously, none of us do. But for that to happen in this case, I'm kind of a little bit confused why he didn't get more time as an accountant. And I don't know if he just admitted he got swindled himself or what was, but that's pretty kind of rare that the accountant got less time understanding the laws and everything else, more than anybody else. But this case also happened. Prosecutors have said Chrisley submitted fake documents to banks and managed to secure more than $30 million in fraudulent loans. $30 million. Once that scheme fell apart, they walked away from their responsibilities to repay the loans when Todd Chrisley declared bankruptcy. While in bankruptcy, they started their reality show and flaunted their wealth and lifestyle to the American public. Prosecutors wrote and then hid the millions they made from the show from the IRS. So they just didn't do this. They kept doing it, and when they got money, they didn't even attempt to pay anything back or do something like that. The Chrisleys also submitted a false document to a grand jury. Man, you were messing around. That was investigating their crimes, and then convinced friends and family members to lie under oath during their trial. Prosecutors argued neither has shown any remorse, and they have instead blamed others for their criminal conduct, prosecutors wrote. Listen, you're not a friend if you're going to make somebody else lie on stand, and they can get in trouble, because you can. That's perjury. And I mean, if they knew they were lying, obviously. But who would do that? I mean, it's like people in prison who let a family member bring in drugs. Why would you do that and get them in jeopardy? It was crazy. Or I would never do that to a friend, ever. I'll take the heat, do what it is, and go to break. Because my friendships and my word mean more than that. And obviously here it didn't. The Chrisleys are unique given the varied and wide-ranging scope of their fraudulent conduct and the extent to which they engaged in fraud and obstructive of justice for a prolonged period of time. Prosecutors are already commended. They proved this all at trial, so this is not subjective anymore. It has been proved in front of a jury of 6, and that to me is a big deal. Todd Chrisley's lawyer said in a filing that the government never produced any evidence that he meant to defraud the banks, and that the loss amount calculated was incorrect. They also noted that the offenses were committed a long time ago and said he has no serious criminal history and has medical conditions that would make imprisonment disproportionately harsh. Obviously, the frauds had to keep going because there is a statute of limitation on fraud. So obviously it would happen within that time frame for the government to keep it going. I don't know if it was played around with, but I think that would come out already if it was. That's personal on that. His lawyers also submitted letters from friends and business associates that show a history of good deeds and striving to help others. People who rely on Chrisley, including his mother and the many people employed by television shows, will be harmed. Well, that always happens. When I committed my crimes and I went away, there were a lot of businesses I had and a lot of people got affected, and that's one of the things I feel really bad about. but I can't change that. I can't ask to be given leniency for that. Obviously, that's you know, my bad choice, and I should be held accountable, and I should feel guilty, and people should feel guilty. But obviously, you have to try to make amends one way or the other, and hope people will at least stand on their own 2 feet in some way or the other. They urged the judge to give him a prison sentence below the guideline range following a supervised release and restitution. Again, I didn't see a reason for a downward departure. He didn't even admit his guilt. That is pretty bad. There's no being contrite of some sort. Jewel Chrisley's lawyers contend that she played a minimal role in the conspiracy and was not involved when the loans discussed in sentencing documents were obtained. She has no prior convictions, is an asset to her community, and has extraordinary family obligations. Everybody writes that. Everybody says that. I'm not saying it's not true, but obviously the jury felt that she was complicit and knew about it. Not only knew about it, probably helped to give her that time or convict her of those charges. If not, why didn't this guy, Todd Chrisley, say she had nothing to do with everything, take her out of the whole thing, take the heat, which I think he should have done. That shows that he is a weasel, if you want to call it that. The Chrisleys have 3 children together, including one who is 16 and also full custody of a 10-year-old daughter of Todd Chrisley's son from a prior marriage. Jewel Chrisley is the primary caregiver to her ailing mother-in-law, according to the filing. Her lawyer also submitted letters from character witnesses describing her hardworking family and everybody else. Now that they are convicted, let me explain what is going to happen. First of all, they're not going to go to a maximum security prison, obviously, but he is not going to a camp because you have over 10 years sentence. When you have over a 10-year sentence in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, you go to a low. He's going to go to a low, which is fenced, everything else. It will have movements, they call them, and it's kind of like a medium but less violent people of that nature. He's going to go to a prison close to his home, most likely. I don't see anything that's going to take him away from there. There's no other people in his case that he has to worry about that he told on, or there's no what they call separatistas. A separatist is when, you know, if you have co-conspirators or co-defendants, and one told on the other, one guy did this, and they don't know what's going to happen. What they're going to do is separate those people, and they put that in their prison jacket. It's called a separatist. When they put that separatist on somebody, they can't be in the same prison. So they'll figure out where to put these people. Again, they're low securities. If they're Atlanta, Georgia, they might go to what they call Coleman Low, is a very obvious spot. They might go to Butner Low. They could go to maybe as far as Pennsylvania or something. They try to keep them within 500 miles. Again, they try to. Will they? I don't know. Now, he's going to go to the prison. He's a celebrity, so he might have a rough time because people might try him right off the bat or at least try to shake him down. Even in a low, yes. There are drug dealers who got away with stuff and they're in a low, and it could be pretty bad people, who knows. Again, the more, if he gets in trouble and stuff of that nature, he will go up to a medium. He has enough time. He has 12 years. That's 144 months in prison. Now remember that. Now he gets off. He has to do 85% of that time without getting no infractions, without losing good time. Is he built for it? I don't know. He's 54 years old. Best case scenario, if he's out in about 11 years, maybe 10 and a half years, he's gonna be 65 years old. I don't know what kind of life he's gonna have. I don't know how he's gonna handle prison. I don't know if he's gonna be positive. I don't know what his health is about and stuff of that nature, because in prison, there is no health care. Don't let anybody kid you. There's no health care. So he could have a tough go of it. He's not a child molester. He's not a offender like that who's going to get the people pissed at him in that regard, like a Jared, what his name is, fucking the subway guy, or a place where he hurt elderly people. He defrauded a bank. People don't give a fuck. Defrauded insurance or the taxes. People are not going to care about that. They might ask him how he did it, and they probably will. And if he thinks he's a big shot, that's another bad sign. He should understand that in that prison, he's going to be monitored pretty good as a celebrity. He will. He'll have his phone minutes, which is 300 minutes a month. That's it. And once those 300 minutes are up, you don't get any more. So you have to wait for the month to come new again. and you can only put so much money on your books. How much money he has, nobody knows. Here's another thing. Now she had 7 years. She could go to a camp, like a Martha Stewart camp, which could be in a number of places. It could be in Tallahassee has a women camp. A few places have women camps. Coleman used to have a women camp. I just heard that was changed into a men's camp. So they will have a women's camp in certain places. I think Virginia has one as well. So they're gonna have women's camps so that she could probably go. Connecticut has a camp as well. Now I'm talking federal. This is all federal. So they're going to be in federal bureau prisons. They're not going to be in a state prison where they go or anything like that. They're going to be in the federal system. So moving on with that, she could be in a camp. She could have it a little bit better. Obviously, a camp is non-violent, pretty much white-collar crimes, which this is. Now, with the amount of time he got, that's why he's going to a fenced-in medium security prison where he can't get out. So there's no chance of that, him getting out of prison for sure. What's going to happen? Will they be able to communicate? Yes. When my brother and I were in prison, and we weren't in the same facility, which we were at one time, Jessup, Georgia, we had permission to communicate with each other because we were siblings. I'm sure because they are married, they'll get the same permissions, unless there's something I don't know about the whole thing. They'll monitor them for fraud and stuff of that nature. And they'll be able to write, but their letters will be read back always. Every one of them will be read and monitored, but they should be able to communicate, which is a little bit better than not being able to communicate. Why the government went after them? $30 million is not a little bit, you know. $30 million is a lot of money, people. So when you're talking about shit, my case was, they ended up with me, conviction was $4 million. Even though they closed cases on my case, but I think the number was approximately 4 million. In total, it was 18 million, but they closed the cases on those. As far as there goes, 30 million, they went bankrupt. I don't know how the restitution is gonna work on a bankruptcy as those companies already wrote the money off, the banks and stuff of that nature. Obviously, they come down hard. There was a time when those guys, whether it was Michael Milken, if you look him up, those guys did 0 time on hundreds of millions of dollars. Very little time, if anything. But they changed the laws after the Bernie Madoff thing, or before the Bernie Madoff, and he got slammed with 135 years, I think it was. He ended up dying in prison. He had some fights in prison too, so I don't know what his celebrity status will do, Chrisley's, but you know, he doesn't look like the toughest guy in the world, the guy who has the attitude or the demeanor to handle himself in prison, but we will find out. That is about what's going to happen with Todd Chrisley and Jewel Chrisley. Listen, fucking with the government is not a good thing. Fucking with the federal government is really stupid, obviously, because that judge does not have to do anything anybody says and can give that person anything she wants. Obviously she did. I don't know what the recommendations were from the federal government, meaning the prosecutors, the U.S. attorney, but whatever it was, the judge wanted to give her what they wanted, and it seemed like it was more because of not accepting responsibility. You know, judges are human beings. They realize people mess up. They realize people get into situations. They realize there's pressure out there. A lot of different things happen. Judges realize this. They're people, everybody. Don't ever forget, they're regular people. I know judges. They're regular people, and they want to hear the truth, or they want to hear what's real. They don't want you to say there, you know, this still sucks or any of this crap. You know, they want to hear that you know you messed up, how you're gonna mess up, and how you're gonna fix that mess up, or you're not gonna do it again. I guess I portrayed that as much as I could. And yes, people are gonna say, but Larry, you lied about your brother. Yes, I did. You know, my brother is my blood, and I will always try to protect people and him. And again, no, I wasn't an asshole to the FBI, the government, and stuff of that nature. When you're caught, you're caught. You should understand that. The feds are good. They don't play. But obviously the Chrisleys have been shocked into reality. So this is the real reality show starting right now. And that just happened Monday, which today's Tuesday, this video. Have a great day, everybody. Please stay safe. Please make good choices, and please subscribe if you haven't. Please hit that notification button and keep following us. We love the support. I do, and thank you again for all the people who came on the cruise and all the people who support us for all we do. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe.